There is a figure in the Bible who appears out of nowhere, no introduction, no backstory, no parents, no birth recorded, no death recorded, no genealogy, in a book that is absolutely obsessed with genealogies. He shows up in 3 verses in Genesis, blesses the most important man in the entire Hebrew scriptures, receives a tithe from him, and then vanishes. For 1,000 years, nobody mentions him. And then a single line in the Psalms changes everything. And then the New Testament builds one of its most important theological arguments entirely around him. Who was this man? Where did he come from? And why does the writer of Hebrews say that understanding him is the key to understanding everything about the priesthood of Jesus? By the end of this video, you are going to see one of the most mysterious figures in all of Scripture in a completely new way, and you are going to understand why the biblical authors kept coming back to him across 1,000 years, as if he held a secret that everything else was pointing toward. Let us start at the moment he appears. Genesis 14. Abraham has just done something extraordinary. His nephew Lot has been captured by a coalition of kings, and Abraham takes 318 trained men from his own household, pursues the enemy by night, and wins. He rescues Lot, he recovers all the goods, he comes back victorious, and as he returns, a figure comes out to meet him. Genesis 14, verses 18 through 20, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." And Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. 3 verses, that is the entire Genesis account of Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of God Most High, bread and wine, a blessing, and a tithe. Now let us slow down on each of these details, because every single one of them is extraordinary. He is called the King of Salem. Most scholars, based on Psalm 76:2, which connects Salem with Zion, believe Salem is an early name for Jerusalem. This is widely held, but not explicitly stated in Genesis. What we can say is that this king rules over a city, a real place, at a real moment in history. He is called a priest of El Elyon, God Most High. This is remarkable. The Levitical priesthood does not exist yet. Aaron has not been born. The tribe of Levi has not been established. And yet here is a man who holds the office of priest to the Most High God outside of any system Yahweh has yet formally established. He is simultaneously a king and a priest. In the entire Hebrew scriptures, no one is supposed to hold both offices at the same time. Kings were from the tribe of Judah. Priests were from the tribe of Levi. When King Uzziah tried to burn incense in the temple, he was struck with leprosy on the spot. 2 Chronicles 26. But Melchizedek holds both, king and priest, at the same time, without any contradiction, without any rebuke. He brings out bread and wine. The text simply states this as fact. He brought bread and wine. In the context of everything that follows in Scripture, this detail sits quietly, waiting to be understood. He blesses Abraham, and here is where it gets significant. The writer of Hebrews will later point out, Hebrews 7:7, that it is beyond dispute that the inferior is blessed by the superior. Abraham is not blessing Melchizedek. Melchizedek is blessing Abraham, which means, by the logic of Scripture, Melchizedek is greater than Abraham. Abraham, the father of the faith, the one to whom Yahweh made the covenant, the one whose name was changed, the one who believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and Melchizedek is above him. And then Abraham gives him a tenth of everything, a tithe, to Melchizedek before the law of Moses, before the Levitical system, before there was any command to tithe. Abraham simply gave it, as if it were the natural response to who this man was. Now, who was Melchizedek? Here is where I need to be honest about what the text says versus what tradition has added. There is a rabbinic tradition found in Jewish writings, but not in Scripture, that Melchizedek was actually Shem, the son of Noah, who, according to the genealogies, would still have been alive during Abraham's time. It is an interesting theory, but it is tradition, not text. Scripture does not say this. There is a Christian interpretation, held by some, but not all, that Melchizedek was a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus. The text does not say this either. What Hebrews says is that Jesus resembles Melchizedek, not that he is Melchizedek. That distinction matters. What the text actually says is more mysterious than either of those explanations, and that is what we need to sit with. Now, Melchizedek disappears after Genesis 14 for roughly 1,000 years. No prophet mentions him, no judge, no king, no priest. He simply exits the story. And then, in Psalm 110, King David writes something that should stop you completely. Psalm 110:4. Yahweh has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. A priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. David is writing 1,000 years after Genesis 14, and he is prophesying about someone who will hold a priesthood, not in the order of Levi, but in the order of this mysterious figure who appeared to Abraham with no genealogy and no explanation. This is one of the most quoted Psalms in the entire New Testament. Jesus himself quotes it, and the writer of Hebrews builds his entire argument about the priesthood of Jesus directly on this verse. But why does the order of Melchizedek matter so much? Here is the discovery that the writer of Hebrews unpacks in chapter 7. The Levitical priesthood, the one established at Sinai, required constant repetition. Priests died and were replaced by other priests. Sacrifices had to be made over and over, year after year, day after day. The system was designed to point forward to something, not to be the final thing itself. But the order of Melchizedek is different. Hebrews 7:3 describes Melchizedek as without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but resembling the Son of God. He continues a priest forever, without father, without mother, without genealogy. Now, does this mean Melchizedek literally had no parents? Or is the writer of Hebrews making a point about the silence of the text? This is where we need to be careful. The writer of Hebrews is likely making a deliberate argument from silence. In the ancient world, and especially in the Hebrew scriptures, a person's legitimacy came from their lineage. Priests were priests because of who their father was. Kings were kings because of the line they descended from. Melchizedek has no recorded line, no father named, no mother named, no birth recorded, no death recorded. In a book where everyone who matters has a genealogy, his absence of one is not an accident. It is a statement. He simply exists as a priest without the credentials the system normally requires, and the greatest man of faith in the scriptures recognizes his authority immediately and tithes to him. The writer of Hebrews sees in that silence a picture of something greater, a priesthood that does not derive its authority from bloodline or succession, but from the nature of the one who holds it. And then Hebrews makes the argument explicit. Hebrews 7 verses 4 through 10. Note how great this man was, to whom Abraham the patriarch gave 1/10 of the spoils, and those descendants of Levi who received the priestly office have a commandment in the law to take tithes from the people, but this man who does not have his descent from them received tithes from Abraham, and blessed him who had the promises. And then the argument that would have stopped every Jewish reader in their tracks. One might even say that Levi himself, who receives tithes, paid tithes through Abraham, for he was still in the loins of his ancestor when Melchizedek met him. Levi paid tithes to Melchizedek, not literally, Levi was not born yet, but because Levi descended from Abraham, and Abraham gave 1/10 to Melchizedek. In a sense, the entire Levitical priesthood acknowledged the superiority of the order of Melchizedek before it ever existed, which means the Levitical priesthood, as great as it was never the final priesthood. It was always pointing forward to something older, something that predated it, something that did not depend on lineage or succession. And then Hebrews 7 verse 11 asks the question directly: if perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, why was it still necessary for another priest to arise after the order of Melchizedek rather than the order of Aaron? The answer the writer gives is that it was not attainable. The Levitical priesthood was not designed to be the final word, and the proof embedded in Psalm 110 and was there 1,000 years before Hebrews was written. Yahweh himself swore that a priest would come not after the order of Levi, but after the order of this mysterious king priest who appeared to Abraham with bread and wine and no genealogy, and then Hebrews 7:24 through 25. He holds his priesthood permanently because he continues forever. Consequently, he is able to save to the uttermost those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them permanently, forever, because he continues, not because his descendants continue after him, but because he himself continues. That is the order of Melchizedek, a priesthood that does not pass from father to son, a priesthood held by one person permanently because that person lives forever. Now step back and look at the whole picture. Genesis 14, a mysterious king priest appears with no genealogy, blesses Abraham, receives his tithe, and vanishes. No beginning of days recorded, no end of life recorded. Psalm 110. 1,000 years later, David prophesies that a priest will come, not from the tribe of Levi, but after the order of this same mysterious figure, and that priesthood will be forever. Hebrews 7, the writer shows that this was always the plan. The Levitical system was always temporary, always pointing forward, always subordinate to something older and greater that had been present since the days of Abraham. And in the middle of all of it, 3 details from Genesis 14 sit quietly: a king who is also a priest, bread and wine brought to the one returning from battle, and the greatest man of faith in Scripture giving a tenth freely before any command existed to someone whose origin and end nobody could explain. Melchizedek is one of the most extraordinary figures in all of Scripture, and the biblical authors return to him across 1,000 years, not because they fully understood him, but because they recognized that he was pointing to something that the system they knew could not fully contain: a priesthood older than Levi, a king priest without beginning or end, a blessing given to Abraham that passed through him to everyone who would come after. If this opens something in the Scriptures you have never quite seen before, subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me, what is the detail about Melchizedek that stops you the most, and share this with someone who has heard the name and never known the story. Because 3 verses in Genesis, 1 line in the Psalms, and 3 chapters in Hebrews are telling the same story, and it is one of the most carefully hidden and most carefully preserved threads in the entire Bible.